For Dragon Week, I've already published a video about D&D 5.24 Dragonborn and the changes to that character option with the new edition update. But I really wanted to make another video, a lore video for all the editions of D&D, and how we as Dungeon Masters can incorporate her into our campaigns as a friendly-ish NPC, and without her eating any of the characters in your campaign. This legendary green dragon was originally created by Ed Greenwood for Dragon Magazine 233, and eventually makes her way over to Storm King's Thunder, which I'm currently running for the second time around. During the first campaign, the players went a different route and never went to go visit Claugiyliamatar. However, my current player group is about to go see her, so I thought I'd do some research on Old Gnawbone. I mean, with a name like that, how could I not seek out more information about her? And after my deep dive, I thought I'd share what I found for everyone who's interested for Dragon Week. So centuries ago, Old Gnawbone laid claim to part of the Crypt Garden as her territory. The Crypt Garden Forest is located east of the Sword Mountains and just west of the Long Road in the village of Westbridge. Crypt Garden Forest is about a day's travel north of Waterdeep, so think of it as kind of like the suburbs. Crypt Garden also has an entrance to the Underdark, but most importantly, a good portion of the woods are stalked by a most fearsome apex predator, the ancient green dragon known as Claugiyliamatar. Now, I'm just kind of speculating on that pronunciation because I don't really speak Draconic. So, as some ballads are wont to sing about her, let's just call her Old Gnawbone for the ease of use. Why is she called Old Gnawbone, you may ask? Well, this particular ancient green dragon has a habit of carrying a corpse dangling from her jaws to munch on absent-mindedly from time to time. Very similar to how some humans would carry a cigarette dangling from their mouth, or perhaps a bit of tobacco chaw in their lip, or even suck on a pipe, kind of like a oral fixation, I guess. Old Gnawbone has a very peculiar fascination with elven and human females, as well as the transmutation spells that transform dragons into humans. Even though she's an elder dragon, Old Gnawbone's magic isn't that powerful, and the best she can do is pull off some convincing illusions. And her main aspiration is to transform herself to be one of these powerful women, living the hustles and bustles of an urban metropolis, a city life found in places like Waterdeep and Neverwinter. However, for someone like her, finding a way to do such a thing without risking her safety is quite problematic. Old Gnawbone is quite fascinated by human and elven women, boss ladies, who wield power, and she spends her time watching them from her cave, her lair hidden deep within the Crypt Garden Forest, through an array of crystal balls. Her personal spells and magic are just too weak to enable her to take a human shape. So Old Gnawbone watches the nobles of Waterdeep and the sorceresses of Neverwinter for hours at a time, learning who has magic, what sort of items, and where they're hidden. And then Old Gnawbone sends her bipedal agents forth to steal those items. Now let's enter the Green Dragon soap opera. So, Claugiyliamatar never tires of studying boss ladies in cities. And she has increasingly turned her scrying to Alastriel's palace in Silvery Moon. Before we discuss more about the soap opera, the telenovela, as the Green Dragon turns, let's first give a little background about Alastriel Silverhand of Silvery Moon. She's also a key figure in Waterdeep, if you are playing Waterdeep Dragon Heist. She's a boss lady mage, and at one time she was running Waterdeep Her mother is also a Mistra, who just happens to be the goddess of the magical weave, and some say even the weave itself. This magical weave in D&D basically gives everyone magic. You have to learn how to work the weave, or maybe your god will work the weave and give you that ability, but basically all magic kind of channels through this weave, and that is Lady Silvermoon's mother. So, of course, this boss lady is going to attract the attention of Old Gnawbone. Well, Lady Silvermoon and her group discovered that there was an ancient green dragon snooping. So, now there are currently junior mages in the major cities who now take turns honing their illusion weaving skills by spinning false scenes of intrigue for Old Gnawbone to watch. Apparently, Mage Ralderston Tinter of Silvery Moon has even taken to crafting scenes of a handsome young green dragon who takes on human form to court ladies of station. It has also been observed that some of Old Gnawbone's secret agents and spies who are visiting Silver Moon in steady stream these days seem to be looking for a certain young man with emerald eyes of the shape-changed green dragon. I think it's hysterical that these wizards are crafting their illusion magic and honing their skills to create a soap opera for Old Gnawbone, and she's just eating that up from the suburbs of Waterdeep. Now, if we want to talk about her lair, it contains creeping phosphorescent lichens, giant toadstools, and hanging mosses, as well as a prized collection of at least a dozen statues of boss lady women, including Lady Silvery Moon. At the back, Old Gnawbone rests in the dark on her bed of coins, which really isn't that much for a dragon of her age. But Old Gnawbone values things other than gold. Some of her key treasures are an alcove with her glowing crystal balls, where she spends hours upon hours upon hours scrying on the affairs of humans and elves. Now, Old Gnawbone does employ humans and woodland creatures to guard her lair and to lead intruders astray with all sorts of illusionary traps and the perils of a nearby cave with adventure and whatnot. However, she doesn't really have an interest in mating or male dragons. So she kind of gives off this lesbian vibe. And one reason that she did not want to mate is that she doesn't want any male dragons to have too much knowledge of her lair and defenses. She's doing her own thing. She don't need a man. Claugiyliamatar is a trickster green dragon. And in her younger days, she was able to trick the nobility of the House of Broken Gulf out of some coin, and therefore earned the enmity of the House of Broken Gulf. She did this by disguising herself using illusion magic, and she posed as a good aligned silver dragon. And then she offered the Lord of the House of Broken Gulf a chance to get rid of that awful old dragon who had been plaguing his lands. Disguised as this silver dragon, she then learned where the payment for getting rid of Old Gnawbone was waiting, and she went there, and she ate the men guarding it and stole her payment. Then she staged this elaborate theatrical battle in the air, where she used more of her illusion magic to make it appear that she was fighting with herself, though actually all she was doing was destroying the fences that secured Lord Broken Gulf's animals, set them free, so that after the show she could go have a snack and eat the livestock afterwards. Eventually, once the show was over, she disappeared behind the mountains and altered her appearance once again to look like the injured silver dragon, and then exited stage left and returned to claim her victory money. But when Lord Broken Gulf could not offer the missing reward, she posed as a very angry silver dragon, and instead he had to fill up a ship with money and offer that to a disguised Old Gnawbone. This caused quite a financial distress among the house, but it only got worse when a 10-day later, Old Gnawbone returned without the disguise as her truly resplendent green dragon self, and demanded twice the amount given to the silver dragon for the audacity of trying to assassinate her. She also threatened the family of Lord Brokengulf, should he refuse. When Lord Brokengulf tried to stall for time to hire a legit dragon slayer instead of an illusion, Claugiyliamatar collapsed his villa's biggest tower on top of him and his 3 sisters, and resulting in the Lord being injured. He eventually paid up, almost bankrupting his family. Old Gnawbones realized that she had created a nemesis and was still up to her wily tricks. For Old Gnawbone is playing chess, whereas the Lord is playing checkers. She knew that Lord Brokengulf would rally up some forces and draw the ire of the city of Waterdeep. So she temporarily left her lair in Deepening Cave and fled to Neverwinter Wood, for she knew another green dragon was vying for her territory. A green dragon by the name of Andrakritar. She got wind that he would be entering Cryptgarden's forest. He had some unfinished business with Old Gnawbone. He wanted her territory. He wanted her loot. She was having none of it. So Old Gnawbone crafted a plan to pit her enemies against each other to her favor. She knew that forces from Waterdeep would be responding, and they wanted to catch a green dragon. She also knew this other feisty green dragon, male, who she didn't really like, was making designs on her territory. So when he arrived in the forest at the same time as the forces from Waterdeep, he didn't last very long, and everybody got what they wanted, except for Andrakritar. The Waterdevians got a victory by slaying Old Gnawbones, allegedly. Old Gnawbones got to keep her loot that she swindled from the Lord. And everybody was happy, and for legends, no one really know that she was even alive. After the Waterdevians got rid of the other green dragon problem, Old Gnawbone returned to her lair in Deepening Cave. Old Gnawbone likes to spend her time managing her territory and, of course, scrying on the affairs of humans and elves and tuning into her favorite green dragon soap opera. Sometimes, though, actually quite frequently, apparently, she dreams of an even better fate, ruling Waterdeep as a human queen with her dragon nature completely hidden from everyone around her. Although the reality of such a pipe dream will never come to fruition, as it would be very, very dangerous for her, deadly even. Often, Old Gnawbone sees herself as an alluring, mysterious lady. All the noblemen and ambitious merchants of the city are wild over her. She glides from alleys and trysts and parties and masquerade balls with everyone staring at her. She's the star, the main character of her own imaginations, and all tongues are darting and wagging about the news of her latest outrageous deeds and her latest fashions, and but that's just a dream. Old Gnawbone's servants say that she sighs often when she stares into her crystal balls. So let's talk about how we can incorporate Old Gnawbone into your campaign. Well, if you want to go visit her, that would entail a journey through the forest, which probably wouldn't have many threats other than maybe some hobgoblin tribes to the north. I'd even put in some bullywugs and some lizard folk. And then, of course, there's an old druid circle of all women that venerate the green dragon. And so you could have encounters with them as well. But I think more importantly, the goal here in this campaign would be to introduce Old Gnawbone, who is a CR 20-something, to your characters when they are unable to actually fight her. And I would incorporate her as a wily mystery to be solved. She is a trickster lady, so I would incorporate a lot of that element. Maybe your characters won't find out who's really pulling the strings until maybe their 5th or 6th level, when they can actually venture off into the wilds and survive in the wilderness. I would maybe incorporate Old Gnawbones, clearly pulling strings behind the scenes in cities like Waterdeep. Neverwinter. I would even say maybe she's pulling some strings in the temple town of Gokdenfields, which is run by Shanti, the goddess of bounty. Apparently Old Gnawbone likes to fly over there and have some snacks, some fast food from there occasionally. So maybe she's got an agent in there that's helping her out. Your players could probably survive encounters with her if they delivered her news, tales of gossip, etc. Perhaps Old Gnawbone has heard about the adventurers as they're growing and just watches what they do, kind of like the soap opera. Maybe you could even design a campaign around Old Gnawbone where the party actually works for an organization that is a front that works for Old Gnawbone, and they pull heists. They have to go get things because Old Gnawbone saw a magic ring at this store that Lady Silvermoon saw, and so they have to go get it. Or maybe a brooch that's not even magical. Maybe she just wants this brooch because Lady Silverhand thought it was pretty. Keep in mind that Old Gnawbone doesn't really care for men. She's got this lesbian vibe going on. So I think strong, powerful boss ladies in the party that are elvish or human would probably get extra special attention from Old Gnawbone, and she's probably much more likely to be willing to negotiate if such character takes the lead. Something that's curious is that Old Gnawbone doesn't want to mate with male green dragons. She's a girl boss. She doesn't need a man, so I'd play her as such. And I think it's very peculiar that she always has this corpse hanging out of her mouth and she's chewing on it kind of haphazardly, or maybe occasionally when she talks to people, she's got a corpse stuck between her teeth and she doesn't know it, much like how people have, sometimes a bit of lettuce between their teeth. Now, Old Gnawbone is rumored to employ dozens upon dozens of human and halfling agents, probably elves too, to work behind the scenes for her, for the less savory sides of business in Neverwinter and Waterdeep. So if you're running a Thieves Guild or something in those towns, or maybe they come across a Thieves Guild or whatever, maybe the players would eventually realize that the person they're working for is not who they thought. With a little sleuthing, would discover that Old Gnawbone is really running that organization. She really seems to enjoy manipulating affairs in the cities for the sake of wielding secret power, not really for the wealth it brings. So play that element too. She is watching the soap operas and wants to interact with them. So it's kind of like your old mama who's like, not now, I'm watching my stories. But she gets to interact with them as well and try and send her agents out to find out information. Maybe one of Old Gnawbone's precious crystal balls, where she watches her soap opera, got stolen, and the players are hired to get it back. So old grandma, mama, green dragon can watch her stories. So there isn't really much treasure that's brought back to her lair. And Claugiyliamatar kind of knows this. But if the amounts that are skimmed off the top are small, she's fine. If the money is then invested in businesses meant to stir up rivalries and gain her more powerful organizations, that's fine too. But if someone starts taking a little bit too much, she's quite vengeful, and they might even end up as a snack. So the favorite prey of Old Gnawbones is adventurers, and she particularly likes human males, but apparently she also enjoys the taste of dragon meat. So thank you for tuning in and following along with my research regarding Old Gnawbone as created by Ed Greenwood. I hope you have learned a couple things, and personally, I think someone stealing Old Gnawbone's scrying globe and the players being sent on a heist to recover it would really put them in her good graces. And if nothing else, I hope this encourages you to use dragons in non-combative ways, especially the really old ones. They're not just a bag of hit points to be taken care of or slaughtered by the players, but are actually really in-depth characters, unique in their own right, just as much as your characters are in your story. Thank you very much, and have a good one.